Grab a glass, grab your favorite bottle. Gotta sip it slow, yeah, that's the motto. Get relaxed, no reason to trip. It's the boy Brocky Man, whiskey and kicks. We pour a glass, toss it up. Air Max ones on my feet, throw them up. Get relaxed, no reason to trip. It's the boy Brocky Man, whiskey and kicks. Kicking game on drinks and libations. Sipping on it slow, keeping with the patience. Freeze on my feet, you know I stay racing. Drinking straight up.
Rocky here, whiskey and kicks with my brother, Mackenzie Conway.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Where are we right now, man? Tell the people.
We're at Beuchert Saloon in Eastern Market. This is our bar here in our restaurant where we reestablished the saloon from 1890.
We're gonna get into that in a little bit. We're gonna get into that in a little bit. I did a little research. It's a lot of history, but I'm glad you said it first because I was calling it Beucherts, but it's Beucherts.
Yeah, it's with a hard C, but like really, if you enjoy yourself and you remember where we're at, we don't care what
Yeah.
You can call us just that fun place and fun neighborhood spot. Man.
Indeed.
We just enjoy it.
Let's talk about you, man. Where are you from, man? Where were you born and raised?
Born in DC, raised in Arlington.
Okay.
But was always coming into DC as a kid. Went K through senior year of high school in Arlington before heading off to school. But I started working in restaurants when I was 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I had to get school and parental permission.
Yeah.
I couldn't work more than like 15 hours a week. Not that I ever did, but
right.
I was a fat little kid who wanted to be a chef.
Statute of limitations up, man. I think we're all covered now.
I was working like 25 hours.
So, all right. So you always wanted to be a chef. So do you still kind of carry that with you?
No. I mean, I spend so much time in front of house that I know I don't have what these guys have and what these guys do. And really, it was just. But for me, it was such an amazing experience to be a fly on the wall, to see how it operated, be a young guy, and to meet people from all walks of life. I was working in Chinatown, and I was working with Spaniards and Colombians, and working with people who were political refugees who started working in a restaurant.
It's a lot of flavor.
Yeah,
it's a lot of flavors.
And at the same time, it was a great training process. And put a little bit of money in my back pocket.
For sure.
And, got me out of doing chores at home. So
For sure.
I was able to jump into it.
You have siblings?
Yes, I got 3 older brothers.
Oh,
so
word.
I'm the baby.
I met one of your brothers, didn't I?
Very possibly.
The boxing kid, right?
Yeah.
Right?
So my brother was a firefighter for 10 years. Two of the 3 brothers were Golden Gloves.
Oh,
so I'm
word.
like a really good moving heavy bag. Like I don't have the conviction for it. I love boxing. But yeah, he trains like kids full time now, and he'll come back and help us out every now and then because he helped us a couple years ago. But so he's just training. He's not pro or nothing. He just loves the action of it, and he loves the community behind it.
And you're clearly a big boxing fan.
Yeah, huge boxing and MMA fan. But again, I never competed or anything like that. I'd go train, but I didn't have that conviction.
That's where you get set up. I'm not messing with you. We're friends. We're friends. I ain't messing with you. You're not about to right me to death.
No, man. That's why I say my brothers were big into it. And I'd rather pour someone a drink and get to know them than to do anything else. So
clearly,
that's why I'm back behind here.
Who do you like to follow in boxing wise? I'm a huge boxing fan.
So like I started going back and watching lighter divisions from the 90s because growing up it was heavyweight. So my attention was only on Lennox, Holyfield. You're looking at of course Tyson, and then I would look farther back than that. My grandfather was really into boxing, so he actually went to my grandpa passed away a couple years ago, but he was in high school with Sugar Ray Robinson.
Word.
So like he went to Clinton with him before he dropped out and went to the Olympics. So, like I was looking at all that old stuff, but at the same time, like I was skipping over the lighter guys in the 90s. So Julian, I think Johnson, Hawk Johnson.
The Hawk. Yeah, they made the movie about him, right?
I don't know if they did. I
the
need
Hawk,
to see it.
Yeah, I think they made a movie about him.
But now the heavyweight division looks more exciting than it's ever been. Of course, I'm a Lomachenko fan.
Huge Lomachenko fan here.
The fact that his dad took him out of boxing after like 12 years and made him strictly do dance for 3 or 4
for years. Yeah.
What?
You see the results.
It's amazing. He's making world champions look so basic, and at the same time you have Tyson Fury, Deontay, you have Wilder, you have Anthony Joshua just came back with
It's a good climate in boxing right now.
Right now, I think it's the most exciting it's been in probably like 15
Yeah.
years. So,
Yeah.
I mean, in that gap, I started following UFC and stuff and and different MMA organizations. But right now, boxing is like, oh, wow, I really get behind this.
Yeah, big time. We can talk this for a whole episode. So
Yeah.
I love boxing. So, you're a traveler, man? You like to travel a lot?
Love travel. Don't do much of it at the moment. You know, this takes up majority of my time. But I was lucky enough to go to Paris for a week last year.
Yeah.
I hit the East Coast. I'm an East Coast kid, so I'm always going to Philly. I'm always going to Baltimore. I'm always going to New York. I went to school down in Charleston, so I've spent some time in the South, but I haven't been back down there in quite a while.
Word.
Yeah.
What's one of your favorite places that you've been to, though?
Domestically, honestly, and recently, Philly. Philly really has like.
Philly's dope.
It's cool. It's got character. It's got grit. But there's great food and bev scene. Everyone's ribbing each other, but in a friendly way. So it's something I'm Irish Catholic. I got 3 older brothers. I grew up. I grew up with our version of Jones and on people, and so to hear that always is beautiful. And then abroad, Galway City and Paris are while people wouldn't normally tie those two because one's very small Irish city and Paris. Those are probably my 2 favorite places I've been to abroad.
Dope.
Anyway.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So you started off young and you were in a food situation. You wanted to be a chef. So when did the transition for you to from that into like crafting to being a bartender? Because crafting cocktails came later, of course.
Yeah. So I mean, first off, working in restaurants was always really exciting to me. It was something I got to do, and really at that young age, I had no skill set to be even a prep cook. Mm-hmm. So I was food running, bussing tables, I was dishwashing, and then I would slowly fill in because I was genuinely interested in what people were doing and where I was. And the kitchen at the spot I was working at was a really well-known spot, and they've produced a lot of killers who now own their own restaurants.
Oh, okay.
So seeing them develop at the same time when I was a fly on the wall was really cool. But I came from, my parents are both government regulators. So since coming to this country in I think it was 1898, my grandfather, my mom's dad got here. No one opened their own business. Nobody wanted to do their own thing. You get a government check. It's too much risk otherwise.
Right.
You can't do it.
Right.
So working in a restaurant full time, or hopefully one day opening a restaurant, that was a no-go in my family completely. Right. So I was always in restaurants, but I was trying to go to school. I thought I was going to work in an office, and then about 6-7 years ago, I had to choose one or the other, and
so not too long ago.
Commitment. Yeah. So I've been in the game 18 years. I've been 100% dove in for like 6.
That's dope, man.
Yeah. And those first 2 of the 6 were pretty rough.
I
belly
you gotta pay your dues.
I belly flopped.
It wasn't a pretty landing, So,
now.
Any hobbies and stuff, man, that you have?
But I'd hate to say it, training full time, and when I do get to train with my brothers, it's great. But honestly, I'm lucky enough that I have family in the area.
Yeah.
So I spend time with them. Or I go visit old friends because I've had them so long, who are in completely other walks of life. So just hearing about it, man, just honestly, kind of socializing is my hobby. So
for sure.
That's why I'm so lucky at what I do.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about this beauty that I have in front of me right now.
So this is our version of a Millionaire. So a Millionaire is an established kind of classic cocktail. Typically calls for gin, if I recall. I can't remember. Either it doesn't have an absinthe rinse or it doesn't have Cointreau. And we have bourbon whiskey here, high rye bourbon. Mm-hmm. We have Cointreau, a little bit of a spice grenadine, just some warming spices, clove, cinnamon, star anise.
I love clove.
It's winter, man. It's winter. It's a little bit frothy, and of course egg white. And then we do an Angostura mist on top, and that's our logo. That's our beautiful
logo.
bee.
I hate to drink this right now, but I'm going in.
What's funny? I hear that all the time, and the bee lasts. Like I've seen it at the bottom of the glass.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it lasts, man.
All right, let me try this thing. Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
I think it's a pretty classic approach. It's just enjoyable, and of course, it's got our logo on it, so it's got to look pretty.
Refreshing. I love egg white cocktails. I love gin.
But yeah, ours we switch. We think of ourselves as a bourbon and rye.
Oh, you switched yours.
So the classic is with gin, And
this
switched
one has
ours up. And we also do an absinthe rinse as well. So we mixed up a classic a little bit, and this is how we present our classic.
Better. That's even more important. I'm sorry, I mixed that up.
I love gin. No problem.
Yeah, even better that you were able to craft a cocktail that, you know, if I had a friend who doesn't really drink whiskey, they could drink this because you're not gonna taste it like that.
I also think
I love to taste whiskey.
Yeah, I think for like an egg white cocktail as well, it's pretty approachable. Sometimes they're pretty elaborate, or sometimes they're. But I'm not knocking that. But again, we try to be approachable to all of our guests here and get them a little bit out of their shell, and I think this does a great job.
That's the purpose of this whole whiskey and kicks thing that I do, is to expose people to more. There's so much that goes on behind the bar.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Man. Science, math, blood, sweat, and tears, belly flops.
Belly flops. Exactly.
So, what's your approach? I have some bartending questions, man.
Please.
So, what's your approach to freehanding versus using a jigger?
The different techniques, and maybe this is me translating, you know, all the things I learned from my brothers, kind of beating me up in the ring. All, you know, techniques are valid and effective in certain contexts. So, dude, if I'm working at a nightclub and I'm doing $10,000 in sales every night as independent because I'm selling, you know, 18 vodka sodas a minute.
Right.
Yeah, man, get your timing down.
Boom.
We all did it, man. Like, we all, you know, I've worked in dive bars. I've, you know, get your time down, boom, boom. If I'm just making hand drinks, and not knocking that because you're making money.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not, and they're having fun, and the guests are having a great time.
Yeah.
At the essence, that's what a bar should be. If you're using, you know, bar spoons, if you're using quarter ounces, if you're using eighth and rounds, teaspoons, you're being precise with how many dashes. It takes a little bit to get used to, but like once you get used to them,
with a jigger, you
I'm
mean?
super fast. Yeah.
Right.
Now with jiggers, you could argue there's fractions of seconds I'm losing because of it, but I'm being more precise, and I think that the guest is willing to wait for precision.
I mean, I think people come to an establishment like this for precision. If I want an old fashioned, I don't want 3.5 ounces of bourbon in there. I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah, but you know, it serves a different purpose.
Yeah, it's not what I was looking for. I'll take it.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and hopefully I think we do pretty good in terms of the precision behind the bar here. Yeah. And so we always use, unless it's just a little shot to have with someone at the end of the night, we're using jiggers for everything.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And
yeah.
you've given me some pretty exclusive stuff here before, and it's like, no, let me go ahead and give you 1/16 of an ounce.
No,
So, what do you think some of the misconceptions people have about bartending, bartenders?
I think outside the bartending world, right? I think the misconceptions are either that you have to go to school for it, which I'm pretty adamantly against.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's seminars, there's clinics, for lack of a better term. But even then, I really think that people should go to them. I'd recommend going to programs like that after getting your feet wet.
Okay. So just jump in first.
I think jump in as a bar back or support staff, and while you're polishing glasses, while you're supporting the bartender. If you're able to do that, then you get the tempo. Then you get the tempo of the spot and how to interact with guests, and that's at the end of the day the most important thing.
Right.
Doesn't matter how pretty your stencils are or anything else. If you don't have a good interaction with the guests, nobody cares. They're not going to come back. And then while you're doing that, you ask questions, and you figure out what you're interested in and develop skills there. And then after a year or whatever time frame, however you grow. Then you go out, if you want to go to a school, if you want to go to a program, but I wouldn't switch jobs and drop $800 on a 2-week long course and not be sure you want to get into it. I think a lot of people already did that with their undergrad degrees. They spent thousands of dollars and they're not necessarily pursuing what they studied.
You got that right.
This is an opportunity to have experiential knowledge before academic. And that's something I really would promote.
I can understand that because doing this, I remember, I don't know, I think maybe the last one that we did, and I had to go behind the bar for some reason, which I'm never behind the bar. Yeah. And just being back there, I felt like I got so small. It was like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, jeez.
When I first got here, it was so disorienting. It was there's so many bottles everywhere and so many different styles and what are all the different bottles? What are all these? And you gotta put blinders on, figure out one thing, and then keep moving down that list.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one misconception. The other is, and this is argumentative. Like you can have a lot of people call it, and I'm fortunate this way. A lot of people call it an art. I don't agree with that.
Really, bartending?
I do not agree with that. It's a trade. It's this. At best, it's like a minute version of like calling a bricklayer an artist. And at some point, yeah, like you look at architecture, and I respect what he's doing, but to me, it's a trade.
You're a humble dude, man.
And yeah, I don't. Well, that's the problem. If you go stay home, I got a small ego, so if you call me an artist, it's gonna go right to my head. So
Right.
I can't accept it. It's always nice to hear, and I'm glad that people value what I do.
I definitely look at it as art. Like there's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
look, you can go ahead and pour a vodka and cranberry juice all day. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? But to craft some of these cocktails, like during the Prohibition time, the thing that they were doing,
Yeah,
you know,
that, and,
like,
yeah, and it's wild. And you
jeez.
think of it as especially Prohibition. Everyone thinks of it. You think going back in time, it's somehow more primitive, right? That it's less developed. And you look at these recipes, and you're like, wait, you were using orange marmalade in your cocktails, and you were like things where you're like,
right.
Things that were mainstays that we're just now starting to be able to do again in this industry a century later. And I mean, I could do a whole thing about why I think that is, and just in terms of chronological development, Prohibition ends and everyone's interested in prefab. We're 10 or 15 years away from going to the moon. And everyone's TV dinners like, oh hell, your TV dinners. Like the microwaves are just gone.
Right.
So want prefab at that point. So the value of the craft and the value, there wasn't a demand for it. People were like, oh, free fries. So like, as soon as we come out of Prohibition,
right after that,
nobody cared. 1950, we're looking, we come out of Prohibition in 1933. We're in the middle of a depression. Who's going? If you're drinking, it's a bottle in a bag.
Right? Who's like, yeah.
Then we got World War II. We come out of World War II. Then we have Korea. So you're not looking at a stable peacetime, at least America, until like 1953 to 1956. By then, we're already developing. We're in a nuclear age, so we have microwaves. Now we have prefab. You can get your cocktails pre-bottled.
Right.
You can get a pre-bottled Manhattan and buy it in a plastic container, and that's exciting to the American community at that point. So not to get ahead of myself and rant, but tiki kept the fresh juice alive. That's in my opinion.
Really?
And I think that's why so many bartenders like it. Is you can look at recipes from Beach Bum Berry and all these other cats, and like you can make fun of it and it's weird stuff, man. But like they're the only ones using fresh juices. Everyone else is using sour mix in the 60s and 70s and everything. So
that's interesting.
A concise,
it's interesting that you went that route, because it kind of makes sense with where we are today, where this is super special now.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is super special to get a craft cocktail. And whereas when coming out of Prohibition, I never thought about it. Coming out of Prohibition, people weren't, because they wanted, just give me quick or whatever. Not necessarily taking all your time to.
Yeah, exactly. And there things were accelerating, so everyone wanted to accelerate. And eventually, we got to a point where we want to sit back and kick it. And I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm crushing this thing. I need to slow down, man. I need to somebody go get me a sandwich or something.
This is what I'm really here for. That's 90% of what I do.
This is the beauty of It's the beauty of doing this job. I love this.
Right?
Do you participate in the bartender lifestyle? Like, you guys are vampires.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely a night hog. I don't know if it's a night or night owl or whatever.
Night owl?
Yeah, I said night hog. Like
night hog makes sense.
But no, and yeah, I don't know if it was trained or if that's when I feel most like. So like, even on my days off, I'm gonna be up till 2 o'clock in the morning, no matter what. And that's an earlier night for me. It's odd that way. So in terms of that lifestyle, yes, I think again, there's a lot of misconceptions. People think about drinking and dancing till 6 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And I'd be lying if those weren't lies, things I've done, but consistently, no. I mean, once you look at this as a career, you have your fun times. You want to celebrate because most of us are working, 60 hours a week.
Yeah, man.
And like y'all are working 60 hours a week on y'all's. Like everybody these days is working 60 hours a week.
You got that right.
So which, so, when you get a chance to, yeah, you celebrate, but I don't really think I'm kind of I don't keep up with the Joneses. Like, I don't know who's opening what or anything like
Okay,
that.
all right. Because there's that culture in bartending where all the bartenders get with their friends after their shifts, and they're out. Or some people go home.
Yeah, I mean, and I definitely go hang out with my friends after the shift, but I always want to talk. I don't want to talk what's going. Oh, who's doing what? Oh, did you see this? It's how was your day?
Yeah.
What have you been working on?
Yeah,
so
no
there are
doubt.
certain people that I hang out with that way.
Yeah, I can dig it, man. So this the beat pretty much held up. It's
I'm telling you, man.
it's more. It's changed shape a little bit, but that's,
I mean, you can say the same thing about our restaurant, man. The past 7 years.
we're gonna talk about it,
Hey,
man. We're gonna get into it. So let's take a break and come back in the second segment and talk about this beautiful establishment.
Cool. It's the boy Brocky Man, whiskey and kicks. We pour a glass, toss it up. Air Max ones on my feet, throw 'em up.
All right, look, we're back, and I'm a little tipsy.
Yeah, we are a rye bar, so we tend to get it in fast.
Yeah, buddy. But we had the next cocktail. So what are we looking at here? What is this?
So again, this is one of our flagships here at Beuchert Saloon. This is the Beltway Boy.
The Beltway Boy.
This has been with us for almost 7 years now. This, if I had to only pick one cocktail on our menu that we do, it's this.
Really?
Yeah. It's so simple, so approachable, but again, pretty unique. So structurally, it kind of looks like a Sazerac and a Boulevardier had a baby. So
Right.
you got Shaw's bitters, you got rye whiskey, you have an absinthe rinse. So those three things are like a Sazerac, but at the same time, you have Foro Amaro instead of sweet vermouth, and Aperol instead of Campari, and like a Boulevardier. But it's closer to a Manhattan in its feel.
I am excited.
Dude,
Did y'all hear that? Listen.
Hey man, I think it's really one of the best things we've ever put out here.
I'm going in. Oh man, I love absinthe so much. This is amazing, dude.
Until I had this drink, I thought absinthe tasted like hate, man. And then I had this drink, and it opened up my whole world to the.
Oh my goodness.
Anise, licorice, all that. So thank you. I'm happy you enjoy it.
Holy shit, that is fantastic, dude.
Hey.
What was it called again?
So it's called the Beltway Boy.
The Beltway Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it.
Dude, it's super simple but unique.
This is my lane right here.
So the three owners here are all from inside the Beltway.
Oh, okay.
So, and they all met working in restaurants together. So it was kind of, this is their style of drink.
Do you head up the cocktail program here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I head up the cocktail program here. I've been running the bar here at Beuchert's for 4 years.
Dope.
But we've been open 7. So the original beverage manager was one of the owners he's from Southeast, but he worked in New Orleans for like 5 or 6 years. So he came back with this just like rye whiskey, focus on classics mentality. And so this is his baby. And
I didn't know that about you guys, that you were really rye heavy.
We got everything, man. But in terms of what we like to drink, what we like to play with, we think of ourselves as a rye.
You guys are spicy.
Yeah. I don't know. We got a little edge to us. So.
All right, let's talk about Beuchert's.
Yes,
all right?
Hard C.
Beuchert, Hard C. I did a little research coming into this segment, and there's a really deep history. So talk to me about the bar. Man.
Yeah, so the bar was reestablished in 2013. But this address, 623 Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast, when the three operators and owners were looking at spaces, they found out that this was a saloon from 1890 until Prohibition.
Yeah.
And then that same bar owner, John Ignatius Beuchert, opened up a phonogram shop, like early record players, I guess, or something. And it's believed that he had a speakeasy in the back. That's
what I read. That's what I read.
I don't have guaranteed proof. I don't have a secret hatch somewhere I can show you or anything.
We're gonna go with that.
But yeah, no, it's one of those things. Like, it's kind of a weird shift to go from being a saloon owner to selling records. So I'm betting that's how he was making his money. And so yeah, when we found out the rich history, and everyone here was from DC, and they knew they wanted to do a farm to table mid-Atlantic restaurant. They knew they wanted to focus on classic cocktails. And back then, if you had a bar from 1890 till Prohibition, you had to be mid-Atlantic. You had to be farm to table.
Straight up.
There wasn't
not too many options.
Yeah, exactly. So breathing life back into this space. Checked all those boxes for all what they wanted to do. So, we've been open almost 7 years now.
So, from when did they close down? This is the same exact address.
Same exact address, same exact space. We have certain things from they did the 3 owners in 2013 did the full build out themselves. So while it was an arts and frame shop before they took it over, but everything in here is going to be from the time period. This brass tap line is from the time period. You can't really see, but the tin wallpaper behind you costs us an arm and a leg. That's all from the time period. Our chandeliers in the dining room are from the 1920s. Our candle holders are the original counterweights to the building's windows, because it was pre-air conditioning, so they had to lift up these giant windows.
Dope.
So, yeah, we all of our plates for dinner, we go antiquing for. You know what I mean? Like, people are like, oh, where'd you get your plates? Like, I had to drive out to Roanoke.
Right.
And so we try to breathe that life and the aesthetic right back in.
Yeah, you get that feel when you come in here. Like, I've only been here a few times, and from the first time, I'm like, this place is special. Like, you can feel it.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, are these bison or buffalo, man?
So my understanding, and I'm a bartender, I'm not a zoologist, whatever, is they're bison. So the American bison while I'm very happy, has bounced back from being endangered and is now the national mammal of America. The joke I make is it's a classic thing of, like, whether you want to call them explorers, colonizers, whatever. A whole bunch of Europeans showed up somewhere and they're like, that's what we got back home.
Oh, word.
So they thought it was water buffalo. They're completely 2 different species. But at the same time, like, I know what you mean when you say buffalo. I'm not going to stand here and be like, it's a bison. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, popular interpretation dictates definition. So whether you're talking about in cocktail history with spirit knowledge or with mammals, so I try not. We call them Mike and Ike. That's
Mike and Ike, huh?
Yeah, Mike and Ike. And no idea where the name came
It's
from.
a nice touch.
It was a wild night when they got named.
So it's pretty much purely aesthetic. It's not like a significance to the actual bar itself.
No, the significance to the bar is that we knew we didn't want a TV.
Okay.
And
those are in places where TVs would be.
This is a conversation starter.
Yep.
That's all it is. That's all it is. These are antique. These are like 70, 80 years old. Which also begs into question how they were got. But
need to get into all
again,
that.
it was before my time. I didn't kill them.
Things move around. They're here to out.
Statute of limitations. Definitely.
Definitely up. So I have one last question, and then I'm going to get into some Whiskey and Kicks community questions that I have on tap.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, do you see a difference in bartending culture here on Capitol Hill compared to like Northwest, like the U Street corridor and stuff like that? Because you guys are kind of off that beaten path over here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference in the. There's a little bit of a difference in the community and culture, but again, like we're in the same trenches together.
Right.
So I might just be in a different segment of it.
Okay.
I don't think it's very far removed. What I do think, I hang out up in Northwest.
Yeah.
I hang out on U Street. I hang out. In Admo and DuPont, and I talk to these bartenders, and grass is always greener. I'm looking around going, man, you're packed on Tuesday. Y'all make money. And they're turning and going, I never get a regular.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah,
I'd probably say 70-85% of our business, we're
regulars.
Very lucky. We're completely supported by our regulars. So we don't have accolades here. We don't have reviewers coming in here, but I got people when they're celebrating their engagement. I got people when they're mourning.
Yeah.
I got people when they're, I had a regular who gave birth. She got home with her husband, holding her newborn, looked up and was like, go get me a burger from the
Right.
That's the first thing she said.
Yeah.
So, these are people that, this is the community that supports us, and we're so fortunate to have. And I'm sure spots in Northwest have that. But I think it's a little bit more turn and burn up there, and here.
Yeah, you get different people all the time.
I mean, I might flip my stools at midnight, and if I get a phone call, I'll unlock the door, put it down, and be like, come on in, man. I didn't,
Don't go calling up the spot trying to get in here. And,
I gotta know you. You gotta have my person.
You know what I'm saying? Don't get carried away. Relax a little bit. So I like to reach out to Whiskey and Kicks followers, people who support me, and ask them what would you ask a bartender? You know, so I have a few questions here.
Please, yeah, I love this.
First one is from my boy Pablo. He says, which cocktail do you find to be an underrated pioneer?
An underrated pioneer?
Yeah.
Ooh, oh man, that's an awesome question.
Fellow bartender.
I think we're gonna get into this in a little bit, but one that I think gets lost a lot in the current zeitgeist of cocktail bartending is the last word, and it's had its moment, but it's, you know, people talk about equal part cocktails, and there's a big push for 3 ingredient cocktails and kind of a simplicity, which I totally agree with. There's a beauty in that simplicity, but it's an equal part cocktail, but it's not a 3 ingredient, it's 4.
Okay.
But at the same time, there's so many different variations of it, and it's so easy to play with. And you don't have to stick to any traditional thing. That I think that, and it's 1915 Detroit Athletic Club, so just before Prohibition, and then it doesn't really see its heyday. Now I want to get, you know, hopefully I'll make.
Yeah, we about to do something with it. We're gonna address this in a second.
I'm gonna make one because I'm very proud about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really come back into resurgence until like Phil Ward in New York City in the early 2000s. So
Right.
it has almost 70 years of being dormant. So that's one, of course, you know, Old Fashioned is amazing, of course, you know, Boulevardier, Negroni, and Old Pals, and
Old Pal, you mentioned Old Pal, my man. Yeah, okay.
Pal,
Yeah. I don't hear too many people talk about Old Pal.
Ambidextrous, and hopefully our own, the Ambisinistrous. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of Boulevardier and 3-part. Those all get chopped up, and I think they deservedly get their limelight. I just think the last word, I'll die on my shield for that one. Yeah.
Let me, and I'm going to interject into my 3 questions here. Please. What came first, the Boulevardier or the Negroni? From what you understand, because I'll get different answers.
If I had it, it's from what I was reading in the Waldorf Astoria book yesterday, and what I understood before that is the Negroni came first. So you have the Americano, equal parts, 1.5 ounces.
I love the Americano.
So it's sweet vermouth, Campari, soda water, bitter, refreshing, slightly herbaceous Italian drink. There's some story about some Don who's fascinated with America and wants to spike his drink and make it stronger. The bartender, who I think their name's even documented, it's one of the few drinks you can like pinpoint.
I read about this.
And then you have, so I want to say that's like early 1900s, and then around like 1920s or 30s, during our Prohibition, there was an American bartender in Paris, who's, at least according to the Waldorf story, is attributed with the Boulevardier. And the Boulevardier was equal parts and specifically bourbon. And then it evolved at Waldorf Astoria years later into the Old Pal, which was named after a journalist who wanted a drier, more bitter, so they used rye whiskey and dry vermouth. But really, these days, you can do bourbon or rye for a Boulevardier.
For sure.
But Negroni's the OG.
Okay.
That's 100%. And if I had to put all my money on something, it would be that.
The Negroni came first. All right. Hey, I love to get that opinion. I've heard different things.
I would love to know who told you all this.
We'll talk off camera. I'll put my guy on blast. So, second question from Miguel. What's the one rule you live by as a bartender?
Be guest first.
Okay.
Be guest first. Even when anytime I'm starting to bubble up, if I've worked a bunch of hours, or if someone's, if someone comes in and is immediately rude, I've been hangry before.
Right.
I mean, maybe they just need some food.
Right.
Maybe they just need someone to talk to, and of course, people, don't let anyone walk all over you. Don't let anyone trample your stuff. But if you're guest first, you'll develop a really good clientele, and you won't have to deal with douchebags.
Last question from someone you know very well, someone I know very well.
Awesome.
Mobeth.
Yeah.
What is your favorite cringy, if I order this, I'm sure to get carded cocktail? Like an adios motherfucker, etc.
Ooh. Honestly, the joke I used to make for a long time was if you order like Blue Motorcycle, Long Island, or an adios, I could have given you 3 beers, and I'm like, let me see your ID again, dog.
What is it all about? What is that all about?
It's so, especially in this atmosphere, especially in the DC craft scene, right? Anyone who's shown up, it's the Cat Williams joke. As someone who's going out, I was like, tonight
Right.
And it's like, all right, I don't work in that bar anymore, man. I
Right.
did my time in those bars. And maybe someday I'll go back to them. But if if you order one of those drinks, typically I'm gonna ID you again. The other ones like blue motorcycles. There's certain things where I'm like, nah, dude. Like, I ain't got that. I don't have the glassware for it. I ain't got a big enough glass. Like, I'm going to have to give you half ounces across the board. Man.
Right.
It's not worth it. Yeah.
Yo, that's fantastic. Cause when she sent this to me, I didn't understand the context of the question, but I get what you're saying.
Because there's a lot of implications to a night of Long Island.
Right.
There's a lot of...
You came here for a reason.
Yeah, and that reason wasn't just to have a good time.
Right.
It was to get real time. I mean, it's...
You want to get ripped.
Yeah, exactly. Which, hey, man, I ain't knocking that either, but you can get ripped at home, or you can get ripped in a safer place.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hard edges here. It's a marble bar, man.
Yeah. But. Any last words for you, man?
The one thing I gotta say, especially hopefully people come into Beuchert's. I think people hear about our cocktail program. Mm-hmm. The reason they come back is for the food, and it's people see Saloon.
I'm smelling it, dude.
And yeah, dude. I mean, they're prepping that pork belly right now.
Right.
People see the word Saloon and not chicken tenders because I love chicken tenders, but they think it's more bar food, and that's us reestablishing the place. So there's even like a little number 2 next on our front window. We do the kitchen does incredible stuff here, and if it wasn't for them using seasonal ingredients and playing so much, the bar wouldn't play as much.
Straight up.
Bar. So when we're working on cocktails here, that's the other half of the coin. We're going down there. We're going like, hey, taste this. Hey, what do you think about this? They're like, okay,
pairing.
Yeah, exactly. So we're always, if you have, whether it's here or anywhere, if you have an actual team mentality, which I think the owners here have and Chef Drew have done fantastic at cultivating, is we're all on the same team. There's no there's front of house and back of house, but that's offense and defense. We're still
straight up
team.
same team.
So, I've had guys in the kitchen help me stock my wine when I was getting my butt kicked. I've hopped back there and tried to grill stuff, and then they usually yell at me. I'm making more work for these guys.
Right.
But, if you just have the attitude that if you want to be successful in the restaurant industry, you can't have the attitude of that's not my job description. That I don't ever want to see that. Whether it's I've cleaned toilets, whatever it is, we got to get the project done.
Right.
That's the one thing I'll say both about this place and hopefully how we operate in the future.
I know your IG is kind of like personal IG. You don't necessarily want people to follow you there, or you want
No,
people...
they can follow me, man. I'm an open book, man.
Let them know, man.
Yeah, you can follow me at Arlington Boulevardier on IG, and that's pretty much the only social media I use.
That's what's up.
I don't even know my Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not a big Twitter guy either.
If I'm reading, it's a book. I'm not reading on my phone.
Look, man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the information, the knowledge sharing. It's been great, and of course, I appreciate these cocktails.
Thank you, man. I appreciate what you guys are doing, man. I appreciate getting exposure to whiskey and breaking it down, make it more approachable. And you guys put out a lot of content.
Try.
I've only tipped the iceberg, but I watched a couple interviews, whether it was Mo, whether it was Frank, but there's a couple cats I had no idea, and the way you deal with them is now I'm like, man, I got new bars I gotta go hit out.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose.
So,
Get people
thank
out
you for
there.
that, man.
Yeah.
You're opening up my world too.
I appreciate it, brother. So
No problem.
good time, man.
Thank you so much.
Great
Robbie.
time, man.
Absolute pleasure.
All right.
Thank you. Hey, I'm Mackenzie. This is we're here at Beuchert Saloon about to make the classic last word cocktail, which is equal parts lime juice, green chartreuse, which is an herbaceous liqueur they've been distilling in France since 1605, and what the colors they have actually. Maraschino, which is an Italian liqueur.
Caramel, chocolate, citrus, dates,
And classically a London dry gin, but instead here at Beuchert Saloon we use 2 James Old Cockney gin. The botanicals here in the body of this gin play beautifully with the 133 herbs that are in chartreuse. And the last word is a Detroit cocktail, and this 2 James distillery is actually the first distillery in Detroit. since Prohibition. So it historically and taste-wise works perfectly for this drink. And then we garnish with a classic maraschino sherry. Herbaceous, citrusy, refreshing, and best of all, boozy. Oh, come on by to Beuchert Saloon, and we'll hook you up one. Thank you.
Proud to keep talking about whiskey and